Hello and welcome back. If you're joining me for the first time, thank you. I hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, give me a thumbs up, and if you subscribe, you'll get to see future videos without missing anything. So today I wanted to show you a altered book journal that I'm working on. This is one that is commissioned. It didn't start out that way. Basically what I do is I have a Facebook page where I post things that I'm working on in progress, and then that way if anyone wants first dibs, they can message me and we can finish something up together using their ideas too. And then it's just more custom. So this was a book that I had started. I had already done the cover, and I've sold a few where I've just done the cover and maybe prepped the inside pages, just getting them ready for the next step. And I'm happy to do that. So if you ever see anything on there, follow me on my Facebook page. If you see anything that you like, you just message me and we work from there. I do the same thing with my jewelry. I work on jewelry. If this is the first time you've joined me, you didn't know that, but that's why you'll see on my YouTube channel, even I'll have category for jewelry things and then for books, journals, that kind of thing. So this was one that I had started. I had done the cover, like I said, and then somebody asked for first dibs. So I'll let you kind of in on how I got the whole thing started in case you want to just start from scratch on your own book. So basically this one was a really old book to start with, and it was in really bad shape. It was one of these detective series, which is similar to kind of a Reader's Digest book where they have multiple books in one book. And these are from the 50s. So the pages are, you know, a little older. The way the signatures are a little different put together. And they're, you know, you can find these, but they are not going to be in as great a shape as like a Reader's Digest book is. But I wanted to show you, for just an example, what you need to do to prep those. Reader's Digest books are a similar size book, but they're newer. So they're maybe in a little bit better shape. They have really neat cover, different patterns on the covers already. This one I've kind of started. I painted the spine just to get rid of the titles that were in the book. And then I just kind of distressed that. But I'll do something here. I just haven't done it yet. The pages in these are, you know, newer paper. I don't know when they started making these, probably in the 60s maybe. Yeah, this is late 60s. But you can find these at thrift stores, garage sales, and they're in better shape to start out with. Because they're newer, and then you don't feel as guilty tearing it up because it's not like a classic or anything. So those are kind of the books that I've been working with. Now, like I said, this one was in really bad shape. So the first thing that I did was I needed to reinforce the spine. It actually had some of the spine missing, I think, when I started. So this was when I was very new to doing this, and I just used duct tape. You can kind of see maybe where the duct tape is. So I put duct tape on just to fix everything, and then I just decoupaged the book page paper over that, and then you can kind of even see where that was bigger than the duct tape. I kind of like doing it really messy like that because I wanted all the texture underneath so that it looked like a repaired book. Then for this one, I just did my kind of mixed media. I was learning, you know, to do textures first with all the grungy stuff, and then layers of paint kind of just to do a background. And then I did lots of stenciling on this one. The stenciling that I used, just some different, I don't know if you can kind of see, here's one that I used. And just kind of randomly here or there, different directions. And I kind of, when I originally started doing this one, I kind of wanted it to have like a oceany, underwater kind of theme. I didn't know if maybe it was going to turn out to be kind of a mermaid theme journal. It's not now, but when I kind of did that background, I was kind of going for those colors and a little shimmery look. So I wanted to point that out only because I like to always share products that I have found along the way. And one that I just love, I don't know if you can kind of see how the color changes depending on how you're looking at that, at the stenciling. But what it is are these Opal Magic. They're by Finnabair, and they're Opal Magic acrylic paint. And the neat thing about these, I watched a video. If you look this up you'll find videos on this product. And basically what it is, it's this opalescent paint that's 2 colors depending on what you paint it over. So this one, for example, is teal and blue. So as you can see, this is really teal, and that would be what it would look like painted on white paper. But if you painted it on black paper, it will be more this blue color. And like this one is yellow and pink. So it's yellow here, but if you paint it on something dark, it's going to be more pink. And then this one is blue and violet. So it's blue, but then you can see that it's also violet. So I love this paint. It just kind of has a shimmer. It's really a neat little touch when you're looking for that kind of mermaidy thing. And you can kind of see, I think this was the yellow one that I used. And I was going over other colors of paint. So again, depending on what color you're going over, it could be a different color over here than it is over here. So I don't know if you can kind of see the difference, but it's just really pretty. The other thing I like to use on these for the distressing kind of look, because I'm not a real bright color person, is I like to use these distressed mica sprays. They also give that little shimmer. And they come in different colors. This one is antique bronze. I really like this tarnished brass one's probably my favorite. I haven't opened this one yet because I'm on my second bottle, but I wanted to show you just spraying it on a piece of paper what it looks like. And it's just, so it just gives you that little shimmer. And when you put it over your color, you know, everything else still shows up underneath. If I had something, let's see. Maybe we'll try doing it on a pattern or something, and then you can kind of see. So this is just cardstock that I haven't done anything to. And you can see, you still see the color underneath. It's just going to kind of give it a distressed look. And if you put too much like that, you can always, you know, dab it away with a paper towel or a baby wipe. And then just use your heat gun or something to dry it, or let it dry on its own, and it'll dry quick. But it kind of gives you just that little shimmer too, and it kind of just tones down your color. So that is one product that I really love. And I'm sure there's lots of, you know, videos just on using this product, 2 different ideas, you know, spraying it through a stencil, that kind of thing. I mostly use it for just kind of toning down something though. Just, I don't know if you can even see, it's just really subtle, but you can kind of see the splatters of it to kind of make it a little grungy. The other thing that I did on this one was I used this 3D gel. And let's see the brand, where did it go? This is 3D gloss gel by Finnabair also. And I did that through a stencil, a word stencil. And when I originally used it, my goal was to just see all the color I already had going on and have it be really subtle. So I put glitter in it, just white glitter, clear glitter. And I think had I put enough glitter, it probably would have been okay on its own, but I didn't put enough. So it didn't stand out. It was pretty invisible by the time I was finished. So I just took my good old Distress Oxide and Vintage Photo and just kind of went over it just to kind of make the words stand out a little bit more so you could see them. So that was basically for the cover. And then I had my person decided that they wanted this for their journal. So I kind of, now that I have a person in mind, you kind of want to do something that reminds you of them if you know them. And, you know, so I kind of had to tie in the look of the cover into what I wanted the inside to look like, to be more like this person. Now, she may have just loved it how it was and wanted the whole inside thing like that, but you know, she's one of those people that she knows me, and so she's like, oh, just do whatever. I just want to see what you come up with. So I like doing that on the one hand because then I can put some of me in there too. But on the other hand, it can kind of sometimes be a challenge. But so whenever you are working on something like that and you have creative blocks, but you still want to keep moving forward, that's when these kind of books are great, because there's some other prep involved that maybe not be as creative, but at least you can get that part done and kind of be moving forward on a book. So, you know, this is just one cover. There's other ways you can do it. This is another one that I've just started. And, you know, I like to do it in kind of a mixed media fashion. And this one, all I've done is do the kind of reinforcement on the book, undercoat of paint. I did some, this is through a stencil, but it's with some texture paste. And then some burlap on there, which is kind of pokey now. I used Mod Podge, so it's pretty stiff. So I think I might go over it, at least the edges, with some modeling paste or some distress paste or something to kind of soften that up a little bit. So this one's still in progress, but I need it to show you kind of how to do some of the repair work. So once you get the outside how you want it, and some people, they do the inside and then do the outside later. That's fine too. On this one, I went ahead, because the book was falling apart, I went ahead and put a piece of heavy cardstock that was just decorative cardstock, folded in half so that I would just be reinforcing that seam a little more. I just did that on the front, inside, and back covers, just to kind of give it that extra bit of support. You can see that this looks kind of aged and stuff because the paper was pretty bright, and I like everything to look kind of grungy and vintage. So I just used my vintage photo distress Oxide again and my little dauber, and just kind of went around the edges of everything just to make it look old but new. Now I'm going to kind of show you from the back, since that's the part I haven't done yet. So the first thing I actually do is, if you think ahead about your project and you're going to use it maybe as a 12-month journal, or you're just going to start where you are in the year and go forward, that's up to you. Maybe it ends up only being 3 months of a journal. But you kind of think about that ahead of time, because what you want to do is you want to take out some pages so that you have a room to do the things that you're going to add, like pockets and pull-outs and that kind of thing. You can even do, like, you know, cut out a bunch of pages and do like a little hidden box in there or something. I mean, there's so many ideas out there. For this one, though, I'm going to kind of just show you what I did on what is going to be kind of a year-long journal. And for this one, this is where I had put that extra piece of cardstock, and it's in decent shape, but, you know, it doesn't hurt to reinforce these old books. So you could do that, or this one's okay, maybe you just leave it. This page, because of how it's kind of sitting here with this opening here, I would glue this one down to this page, and then I would put some tape here. Now, since I did the duct tape on the other one, after that I found that I needed better tape. Duct tape's okay, but it's slick on the top, so unless you're going to decoupage over it, you're going to have to rough it up or prime it or something to be able to paint on it. This is actual bookbinding tape, and it's a cloth tape that's, to me, as sticky as duct tape, but it's more matte on the outside, so it doesn't have that slick, shiny, plasticized kind of thing that duct tape does. And this one I got from gafferpower.com. I think I just bought it through Amazon. It comes in different widths and colors, but this is definitely worth the investment to repair books. I had done that on this one. If you saw this video of my bullet journal that I was working on, I used it here, and I just love it. So I'm probably going to be ordering more of that in more colors. Now, the next thing, after you kind of, you know, start at the beginning, figured out how many pages you want to take out. When I was doing the one I'm working on now, I knew I wanted 12 months. So I kind of figured out how many pages I had, divided by the 12 months. That maybe make a section per month like that. And I don't want that many pages in my section because I want to add pockets and envelopes and things. So what you have to do is decide kind of how many pages you need to take out in between pages that you're going to leave in. So what I like to do is kind of leave a page, and then let's say, for example, I'm going to take out 3 pages. You could take out 7 pages, whatever it is you need to take out. But I only like to tear out maybe 2 or 3 at a time, because you're going to end up with some scrap in there, and 2 or 3 pages you can get out with the minimal amount of leaving extra in there. So take out your pages and save those because you'll use those for other projects. And then for this, I like to use just glue stick, because if you use Mod Podge or wet glue, something like that, I think it makes the pages too wavy. It wets this old paper too much. So I just like glue stick. So I take my glue stick and I want to work against a hard flat surface, and this is in between are the pages I took out. So I'm going to go all along, and you can use, once you get kind of started on these, you don't want to get glue on the edges of everything, so you can stick a file folder, a piece of paper or something in between there. And then you're just going to get lots of glue everywhere, especially the edges. Glue the whole thing. And then the next page is going to go down. And I like to use a card, a credit card or something. Oops. And I show you how to do that. Not in a good way. Well, the goal is to do this and not have all those wrinkles. So what I would do to fix that is I'm just going to take those two out too. And let's try this again. So I'm going to work against this hard side. And trust me, by the time you get to the end of this book, you're going to be really good at this. So now I have my 2 pages together and they're nice and smooth, got all the wrinkles out of that one. And then the next one, I would leave a page in, okay? And then how many I want to take out in between, let's say 3. Okay, rip out pages. Now I'm going to take that first single page and I want to glue it with all these ripped out pages in between. Now this one started to come out, so just make sure it's in the seam there. And you'll go through lots of glue sticks, so right now it's back to school time. Stock up on these. Okay, so you do that through the whole book. So you're going to take out however many pages you need to, you'll figure that out. But then it's going to leave you, like this one, lots of empty pages. So you can see I probably took 2 or 3 pages out in between each of these. And the same here, you can see I've actually prepped this further, so I'll kind of show you that. I took out more pages in between these, which was a good thing because I want to add a lot. Okay, so once you've prepped all your book pages, the next step is just figure out your sections. So in my case, this is going to be like one that has calendars in it. So I'm going to start from the back here to kind of show you where I haven't been working. So in my mind, I kind of planned how I wanted this to work out. So I did a tab page. These have 2 pages glued together with a calendar on the front. Okay, and then I decided I want a writing on page. So this one's 2 pieces of the 2 pages, book pages together, and then I've added lined paper onto that, just glued it right to it. And then I decided I liked the look of the black tape, and I needed to kind of intermittently reinforce between my pages. So I decided I'm going to do that on every calendar page. So for me, I put a tab on, left a blank page for my my decorative stuff that I'm going to do. I didn't glue this on yet, and I'll show you why in a minute, but I have it planned out at least, and I have my calendar made. Then I took and put this paper on. And then I decided I didn't do reinforcement here, but I wanted some here. So I put the black tape just on this side, and I did that through the whole thing, just to kind of have some kind of consistency, and that's just me. But I kind of followed that pattern through the whole book. So to do the tabs, I used my Cricut maker, and I had designed a tab that I made from an actual file folder tab, and then I just adjusted the sizes so that I would have some long skinny ones and some little tiny ones, which I love these for the book pages. So I have a bunch of different sizes that I can work with. Now I did that with my Cricut maker using actual recycled file folder material, but you could use decorative paper. You could just cut a circle and fold it in half and put on there, just a little a rectangle of paper and put on there. Any size you want. You can do all sorts of things, just to let your imagination go. They do make a punch for a tab that's shaped like a file folder tab, but it's one size. Now they may do a tool that does multiple sizes. There's probably something out there like that, but I'm pretty new. So if you know of that tool, please put it in the comments, and that way we can just kind of share with everybody what we're learning as we go. Now to do the calendar, I just went on my computer and just found a calendar in my, I don't know if it was in my word processing program or the numbers program. I use a Mac, so I don't remember which one, but I just took out where the months and the numbers were, just to keep it really simple, because this is going to someone else and I don't know when she's going to start her book. So I've left it for her to be able to write the month and put the days in. So that's just kind of, if you're doing it for someone else, that's kind of a nice way to do it. If you're doing it for yourself, then you can do, you can go ahead and put the numbers in. I haven't attached this again. I'll tell you why in a second. The next thing I did was to get this paper on here. And I just used, you could use anything, lined paper, blank paper. I like to go to Marshall's or TJ Maxx. There's probably stores like that wherever you live that are, marked down. Everything's marked down. Dollar store may have stuff like this too. Michael's when they're on sale, whatever. But I liked this cover, so I picked this one because I'll use this for something else. But I liked the plain paper that was already lined. It was a good size because I knew I could cut it down to fit whatever book or make notepads out of it. So I save all the little bits. I just cut what I needed for this book, and then I have these little pieces left over that I saved because you can just take those and I sew along the top to make them perforated, and then I have them ready to go when I want to make a little notepad that's a tuck into something. So I just hang on to those. So that's kind of what I did for this paper, just to keep it consistent through the whole book. I just cut those down. I left where it has a little date you can write on there. And then I just, again, glue stick that on to that in-between page that I had between my monthly calendars. Now, the reason I wanted to share this whole project with you before I finish it is because I want to show you what I did to be able to add journal pages back in. When I spoke to the person that's going to get this, like I said, she's somebody that I know. She actually has several altered book journals and junk journals already, and she just wanted one of these. So I kind of knew I wanted to do kind of like a hybrid thing where I would add in just different kinds of journaling pages and do pockets and tucks and all that kind of thing, and a calendar, so it's kind of a little bit of everything for this one. So I needed to find a way to be able to add things into that little section that I have, because my sections are only the calendar, something to write on, and then you have the next calendar. I need more stuff in here. So I came up with a couple of different little ideas for that. One that I did when I started the book at the beginning, I wasn't sure how thick it was going to get. They all tend to get so fat you can't close them, and I'm not very far into this one. So this one's probably going to end up like this. But I decided I needed to kind of slow down a little bit with how thick I was making things. For this one, I went ahead and I did a pocket on that inside cover. This is really thick and sturdy, so if you're only going to do a book with a few pages, and I kind of like that book of like children's books, cardboard books. they're just kind of a nice feel, and I kind of like that. So for these, I used heavy double-sided cardstock for both sides of this, and it does have the book pages in between, but they were just kind of a base for me to have something to glue to. And for this one, I did inside, I did just kind of a smaller little pocket, and then I just added some little things that can be written on. I put little lines on the back and just kind of started decorating. Now, like I said, some days I'm not feeling as creative as other days, so I want to just work on kind of the not fun part, and then save those days where I just like really want to get creative for finishing things up. So like these, I've done just plain tags inside, but I may go back and fancy those up even more. Because it's for somebody else, I'm going to try to control myself and keep it a little simple, just so she'll have room if she wants to add pictures or photos or things to this, that she has room to be able to do that. For this page, I wanted to kind of each month do something a little bit different. So for this one, I wanted to show, I have my calendar that I didn't attach yet originally. Imagine that that's not glued down. And I made an envelope, and I've done this tutorial in a previous video, so you can look that up. But I took the envelope, and you can use a recycled envelope too. This was an envelope I made just out of thin. I have a whole pack of this thinner paper, so it's not heavy like cardstock, but it's a good weight to do envelopes out of. So you can make your own envelope without it being too thick and heavy. Or like I said, you could use a recycled one, but I wanted a one that I knew could be would have a print background without having to add another paper. For example, if I had used an actual recycled envelope, I could leave it like that if it was for my own thing, but I would have wanted to put a piece of paper over that for if I was going to do it in a journal, which would make it thicker. So in my case, I'm trying to keep it thin, so I just used that paper and made my own envelope. And it's double-sided paper, or this one wasn't, so I had to actually stick another piece inside to make it be decorative too. And then just some little embellishment. Now, I wanted to, on this book, because I had already done this outside cover, and I wanted to try to combine the vintage with the way the outside of the book already looked, using some of this opalescent paint. So I did that stencil. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of shimmery and changes color. I used that same stencil in one of the paints on this one just to kind of tie the cover into my vintage look, because I didn't want them to look totally detached from each other. Same here. This is just another little circle, kind of a mandala kind of circle stencil that I used one of the other colors of that shimmery opal paint. And then, you know, you do some stitching and some little brads, just different little things to kind of give it kind of a antique and a modern look at the same time. And then same with this. I showed this punch in one of my previous videos, so you have to go back and look at that. But it's a punch that it can make different widths, from 2.5 to 1.5, and then any length that you want. And I got this at Hobby Lobby. So it does 3 different widths, and then you can make them as long as you want. So that's kind of a handy tool too. So I just did some of those, and I had made these reinforcements on my Cricut, but since then, last week I was able to find a little 1-inch circle for your reinforcements. That way you can make them out of patterned paper too if you want. Then the next page, I'm still just on the very front of my book. I decided just to do a band, and again, I'm just trying to use, I kind of pulled papers from a certain paper pack that would kind of give me at least the colors that were on the outside of this book, and then I can add in that opal paint where I want. So I kind of just grabbed from all of my paper packs anything in this kind of color palette that I could use. And when I want to bring in, again, like I said, that little shimmery stuff, this again, I used this stencil. I just used this little one just to do some kind of little contrasting color and then just a little vintage photo. And I have a Tim Holtz Snarky, I think it is. Small Talk, let's see. Yeah, this is a Tim Holtz Small Talk Snarky Impertinent little stickers. So they're just little word phrases. They come in black background or in white background. And this person, she can handle that kind of stuff, so I thought it would be fun. And then I'm also going to be using some of these little clippings again from Tim Holtz. You can do your own on paper, but sometimes it's kind of fun just to see what someone came out of someone else's head, you know, little phrases and things. So I'm going to be using some of those in here. Now this one I just did, it's the back of the envelope because again, I only have my calendar and I just don't have much room for anything else. So I want places to be able to tuck things. So I kind of try to make the most of one page. So this was the back side of that envelope. I just sewed on a little band and then I just did a little lined tuck thing. And I can leave it plain like that, or I could, you know, decorate it up more. I'm kind of liking this one a little more simple. Now I'm to my first month, so I've got another little tuck here, another little phrase. I used that same little stencil with the on here, and I actually even I just used that paint, I think. I used it as a paint instead of stenciling with it, just to kind of give me that shimmer again, just to, again, try that book cover into my whole inside of the book. So again, just another real simple card. And then this one again, I just, you know, another little paper, and I've done some stitching before I glue it on. So this one I knew I wanted to just glue it. It was the back side of this calendar. And I just did a little clock, and it actually has a hand that moves. I did that using a brad, and I put that on the clock before I glued the clock on. That way the brad doesn't have to go through my page. And I like that it's a one-handed clock. And then again, this is the paper that I had already glued on, so I have 2 writing pages. And then I started, I wanted to do another, add something into my book because normally this isn't here and I just have my calendar next. So the way I did that to be able to add it in was I haven't glued all these calendars down yet. And the reason is I want them to be able to capture another page in here. So basically this was my other page that I captured. So I just left, you know, this much width and glued it to the back of my calendar before I glued my calendar to my book page, if that makes sense. So this one again I just did, it's just a little band with a little picture on the front and then just some cards to write on again. I like to leave a place for, cards that you can journal on. Plus, there's enough room in there that she can put photos or tickets or any little memorabilia, or she could fold a piece of paper and put it in there. Recipe cards, 3x5 cards of quotes or whatever. So the back side of this one, it's kind of made like an envelope because this flap is under here. But then I just fold it over to make a pocket. And then I like things to kind of hang over my pockets just to kind of not make them look like a secret pocket, but it kind of, that looks like a decorative page just on its own. And I took one of the papers. I used to do this a lot with fabric. You can take a paper that's a graphic pattern and cut it up and turn the graphic into a different graphic pattern. So I like to do that a lot. It's kind of a quilting idea, but it took these from looking like this to looking more like eyes. And if you notice, this is Peacock paper, so those are also look like eyes. And the quote that I used out of the Snarky book was, "To be honest, I'm just winging it. Life, motherhood, my eyeliner, and everything." So I like the idea of just kind of a tongue-in-cheek nod to eyes. And the eyes on her were just great. And the person that's getting this has a daughter. So I kind of just like to creatively go back and think up those kind of things, kind of tongue-in-cheek things that maybe people will get or they won't, but it makes it fun for me. Then for this one, this paper came in another color, so I just grabbed it and then I just made another little notepad using that paper. with it. And I've done, I think my last video might have these book binding stitch ideas and things. So I just kind of used some of that. And then my next page, again, I just did another the page, and this is where I kind of came up with a different idea. I was realizing how thick I was getting, and I was only into 1 month. So I thought, I can't do that through this whole book, it'll never close. So I went ahead and just kept this a simple one with some tags. Again, I made a notepad to put in there. And again, I could keep these simple like they are, or go back and put stamps on them or different things. I even made the little square that was a leftover of this, or one that I did it, I think, and then something went haywire with it, so I ended up scrapping it and starting all over. So I took that little piece, and you can see on this one, I have been, for videos, been using the same vintage photo distress ink that I really like, just because it gives it kind of that grungy, aged look that I like. But this week I was able to go to Michael's and Joann's, and so I bought another color that I saw somebody else used, a turquoise color, and I just loved it. And when they told me what it was Distress Oxide. So this one's called Peacock Feathers, and this little dauber that I have has these different, you can take these off, so it's really nice. I probably want to buy some more of these just so I don't have to keep, at least I can have 2 different colors going at once. And then you can wash these out so you can reuse them, but I try to keep one for each color that I'm working on. So this is kind of that turquoise look. And then this is a stamp that I found, I think I got it, I don't remember, either Michael's or Joann's. I just bought it this week too. But I love that it said pros and cons, so you can do this like on a journal page, would be great. But I decided for this tag, it kind of worked out where I could use half of it. So when you do that, just ink up the half that you want. In fact, I don't want that little slash line, so I just inked the half I want. I did one side pros and the other side cons, and I really like that. So that was another new stamp that I got. And then these were little metal embellishments. They all say something different, but they kind of look like locker tags, I guess, dog tags. And those are Tim Holtz too. I just got those. So just kind of, you know, adding little embellishments. This were the 2 pages that I had put the paper on, which I've already done throughout the book. And then I wanted to add in, I had the idea, I needed to add in thin paper that she can write on. So I've decided for each month I'm going to do something with pockets that I can have a notepad and different tags in, my journal pages that I had already added in, and then I want to add some paper. So for this I added some coffee stain paper that I've made a whole pile of. I did a video about that. And I just did some ledger paper and then some elementary school lined paper, and just cut it down to fit behind my calendar. So basically I glued that. I think I have one that's not done yet, so you can kind of see. So basically I take the piece of paper the size of my calendar, and then I just leave a bit to be able to glue to the back of that. And then that's kind of like its own signature. And then I can glue this whole thing down to my book page with the tab on it. So that's kind of how I have decided to go forward a little bit. That gives her more writing space, but still have each month have its own little pockets to add things. So I've done 2 here. And I won't do every month the same. I kind of like to mix it up. So this is where I've left off kind of with the decorative stuff. And I'll put lines on the back of here, and just a little pocket. And then I just went ahead and put a sticker on this one. So you can keep these plain like they are, or add to, whatever. This one I went ahead and I just cut that paper in half one way, and then used the scrap of the same piece, and I just glued. It's really thin. In the lines, when I did this coffee staining, you can see the acidity of the coffee just totally got rid of the lines on this paper. But I kind of like the look and the color of it for this book, so I went ahead and used it and just made a pocket of it, and she can write on it or not. This just has a little thin piece of paper in there. One thing I have learned, and I should do it on this one, is if you round the corners of these, you saw how kind of it was hard for me to get in and out. If you take your corner punch, which is here, you take your corner punch, and I'm going to do maybe the big one just to see. and at least round the bottom corners. Didn't come up very good. It makes it easier to get in and out of that than when they're pointy, because I think the corners, they kind of hang up in there. So there's that. So I'll glue that in there, and then that'll be my next month, and then I'm just keep going till I'm finished. But I just thought I'd share that with you, so that way if you want to start a book, you kind of know how you need to prep it, and just give you an idea for putting your journal together. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions about any of the products, I'll try to list them all in the description of the video. And if you liked it, give me a thumbs up, and I'd love to hear your comments. Maybe you have questions. That's a good place to put it. I get a lot of private message questions, which is fine, but if you put them in the comments, then everybody can see your answers. And if you have a suggestion of a video that you'd like me to do, if you've seen something I've done and I just haven't done it in great enough detail, then just send me that request too, and I'm happy to put something together. So I hope you enjoyed that. Have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.